to mark the main clause after a, well, they do. The problem is sometimes they also mark the continuance of the temporal clause. You just have to decide that by context. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Any questions on verse 1 then, Mike?
Does it have to be a law consecutive perfect to mark the main clause after 2:41?
No. In fact, there's a tendency for the Vav consecutive perfect to mark the then statement in an if clause, and for a Vav consecutive imperfect to mark the main clause after a temporal clause. So conditional clauses tend to use Vav consecutive perfects, whereas because they by nature tend to be future, conditional clause, if something happens, or at least hypothetical. When tends to be more concrete and can be used for either the past or the future, and so it will signal its main clause with either one, but it will be a Vav consecutive. Okay? So here, we're in past tense narration, so what kind of verb is the main clause going to want to use? It's going to want to use a Vav consecutive imperfect, because we're in past tense narration. Okay? The one we did not talk about the verb in the second clause here in verse 1. Mike Metzler, you want to parse that for us? Hey niach.
I got perfect, third masculine singular, hithiel.
Okay, perfect third masculine singular hithiel from what root?
Let's see. I'm not sure how to say it. Nuke.
Yeah, nuke or nuach. And this is you learned this in Bartelt. It means to rest in the call. Nuach is to rest. In the hithiel, it means to, I'll make it causative, to cause to rest or to give rest to. To give rest to. And what's the subject of the verb here, Mike?
Always one giving.
Yeah.
Causing one to get rest. So
Yahweh. And what's going on with the lo after it?
showing what from is getting rest, or
Well,
along the lines. He's getting rest, but from what?
not from, lo. Lo.
I know that's not.
And Yahweh had given rest to or for him. Okay, so basically it's the indirect object of the giving of the rest. To him. For him. How are you going to translate these perfects within the temporal clause? When the king dwelled in his house, and Yahweh gave to him rest from his enemies all around. Here you might want to actually translate it as a pluperfect, right? And Yahweh had given him rest from his enemies all around. Just because of context. You're setting the stage for the main clause. You can't really say when the king had dwelled in his house, because that's actually still going on. So when the king dwelled in his house, and Yahweh had given him rest from his enemies all around. And we addressed this question a couple periods ago. With perfect verbs in Hebrew like this, you have three translation options, always, right? Just in any context. Perfects can be simple past, when the king dwelled in his house, simple past. Or they can be perfect, when the king has dwelled in his house. That wouldn't really fit here. And when the Lord, or Yahweh, has given him rest all around. And it doesn't fit here, but it's always an option, a perfect. Or the pluperfect, had given rest, had dwelled. When the king had dwelled in his house, when Yahweh had given rest to him from his enemies from all sides. Always those three options. Simple past, perfect, pluperfect. Killed, has killed, had killed. All right. Any other questions on verse 1? So verse 1 is it's two clauses all within a single long temporal clause, right? It's a compound temporal clause. When this, and in parentheses, when this, right? It's all temporal.